call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Getting geared up for the weekend, getting geared up for a big series out at Baum-Walker Stadium as the Razorbacks take on Tennessee and Tony V. Should be a fun one to wrap up the regular season. Man, a lot of basketball stuff going on again. No shortage of things to talk about for consecutive days here. I love it. Wednesday was super eventful on the basketball front. We do have a lot to get to. We've got some quotes to overanalyze from John Calipari out on the Razorback Roadshow, the latest on Boogie Fland and a Thiero, some scrimmage notes on Carter Knox and Jameer Watkins, and more. So let's jump right into the madness here right after a word from our sponsors for today over at Bryant's Technologies. They're dedicated to delivering high-quality network infrastructure and security camera solutions, taking pride in their exceptional workmanship and commitment to keeping your business operation seamlessly connected and secure. Whether it's structured cabling, security camera installation, digital signage, or TV mounting, Bryant Technologies has you covered throughout the entire state of Arkansas or the bordering states. Have Bryant Technologies help you with all your network and security needs. Give them a call at 870-883-0330 or check out their website at www.bryantstechnologies.com. And usually we have the what to watch segment on the Bryant's Technologies days. There's a lot to watch. There's John Calipari clips to watch. There's combine stuff to watch. There's Boogie Fland's in the transfer portal stuff to watch. We're watching a little bit of everything right now as Arkansas looks to finalize this roster here. And, maybe we got just an inkling of clarity, or at least some things to consider, some things to ponder for sure. Cal was out at the Razorback Roadshow. He was in Memphis a couple nights ago, but he was in Little Rock for the Razorback Roadshow on Wednesday evening, and he had a lot to say. I mean, it was his first public address, at least, when it comes to taking a few questions from, local media members in Central Arkansas who were down there. It was also the first time he kind of had the opportunity to speak on Boogie Fland since his news, obviously. Now understand, he plays it coy, right? He says what he wants to say in any situation. He darn sure wasn't going to give away, all of his trade secrets at an event like this. So nothing groundbreaking there, but kind of expands on some of the things that we've been putting out there, that we've been hearing. So a little bit of validation and confirmation on that front. Some things that made me raise my eyebrow a little bit. Just some interesting quotes, honestly, and some good discussion points. So I want to play two of these clips, courtesy of Jack Allen over at KATV and then Tyler Cass over at THV11, who were there in Little Rock, and then we'll chat about it a little bit. So the first one I want to get into here is Cal's response to just the potential of adding to this roster, something we talk about every single day, particularly, outside of the hopeful Carter Knox return. So let's listen to it and then let's chat about it.
Well, it'll play out. I like what we have. I like where we stand right now. We have the ability to do more if we choose. Sometimes less is more. Like last year, we ended up playing 6 guys, 7 guys, and all of a sudden we're as good as anybody in the country. So we'll see how it plays out. We're ready for whatever happens.
Okay. I mean, I loved about half of that, right? I can confirm that it will indeed play out. It will do that. That was kind of his topic of the day. It'll play out. We'll see how it plays out. We will, man, and we're definitely waiting on that, no doubt about it. But what was the message there? If you really just sum it all up, kind of the exact same thing that we've been preaching here. He likes where his team's at. He loves this roster. He does. Comfortable with where they are, can and they do have the ability to add more, but they're not going to do it just to do it. If the right thing is there for the taking, the right fit, something they feel comfortable with, they'll do it. So yeah, that tracks. Felt good to hear that coming straight from the man's mouth, and not sent down the line, the telephone game, right? Now where I'm going to have to disagree completely, unfortunately, is the less is more comment there. I 100% understand what he's trying to say, and he's the expert, but it's just my opinion here that I'm sharing. Less is actually less. and you currently have less than you did a year ago when depth was a major issue for you because of the injury bug and the way that you kind of constructed the thing there with 9 playable guys in the rotation. But he's absolutely right. They were great at the end of the year. 100%. It worked out. But like you were also a 10 seed that in fairness, it's just honesty here. You were 1 loss that final week of the regular season at Vanderbilt or at home to Mississippi State away from very likely not getting into the NCAA tournament at all because of some of these issues here. You overcame them and you were playing great ball when it mattered the most, but you got to be able to get to the point where it matters the most. And it's a long, long season, and you need bodies, you need depth, you need options. You also know this, and, we'll talk about it more here in a few minutes. He also said, we're ready for whatever happens. That was an interesting way, I felt like, to kind of close his remark there. Tells me they have contingencies. We just don't know yet what they are. Now he expanded later, I think in the open session where he was talking to the folks in attendance there about being open to adding another player. Like we might add one more, but made it clear, which kind of goes back to the message we've been trying to put out there, that they're not going to do anything to upset the current guys. And I get it. I understand it to a degree. I agree with it completely. Chemistry matters. The continuity is important 1,000%. But with the way some of this is being portrayed and the way some people are talking about it, you would think they have 14 guys already and they're looking to add another impact piece here. No, that's not the case. Arkansas has a half full roster that doesn't even field a 2 deep right now. It's contextual. This is not a too many mouths to feed situation. It's just filling out a depth chart, man. And to me, when that's the case, like it's one thing. If you think about Eric Musselman's last roster, that was kind of a disaster, and some of that was because he had 1 foot out the door, and some questionable character additions in there. Like the mesh was it wasn't there. It wasn't working. But they had so many players that they had to do the thing where Keon Minifield was a non-scholarship walk-on, and they gave him a bunch of NIL to cover his tuition and everything else. Like they just had way too many players. Way too many. That is not this. It's not. So from that standpoint, if we're talking about just trying to put together a capable 2 deep, which is less than what a good majority of teams across the country have, to me, and this might sound harsh, but the hell with your feelings. I mean, like, wipe your tears away with $1 million bill that you're getting here in NIL. This is about winning championships, man. And, you can worry about hurting feelings, or you can worry about covering your rear end and making sure that some of the things that bit you when you were down bad last year aren't in position to do that again if similar circumstances arise. Teams have depth charts, and they have competition for playing time. These guys are going to have competition in life. We all do. You're going to have to compete for your time and your spot in the NBA or the G League or in Europe if you continue to try to play basketball, or elsewhere if you get pissed off and transfer and go to another school. You're going to have to compete for jobs out in the real world. You're going to have to compete for women with other men out there. Like, welcome to adulthood, man. That's just kind of how it works. I wouldn't get too hung up on feelings. Like, I'm all for not, run the risk of damaging chemistry and everything like that, but let's not get carried away there. It's not like they're overdoing it if they add another body. Like, to me, if you're so fragile that you're just unwilling to compete for your job, or even have a backup behind you, and in case you stink one night or you get hurt or whatever, and to the point where you can't function otherwise, like, are you really the type of competitor who's going to get this program to a Final Four? I'm not so sure. So, like, I understand not wanting to have too many mouths to feed and pouty faces and, guys feeling like they're recruited over and everything like that. But just having standard depth, like, if that's so bothersome to folks, like, what are we doing here? Are we that soft of a society? I don't think we are. And I think some of these guys are more competitive than that and would be more open to that which again, we'll get to after this next clip, my thought process here. But the next clip is about his roster building philosophy in general, which in theory, I actually think makes a lot of sense. I want to play this and then we'll talk about it here.
Last year I walked in and when I wanted to see my team, there was no team. Now, all right, let's retain 4. Let's bring in 4 freshmen. Let's have 2 transfers. Size preferably, because older players are bigger, stronger. They can impact the game more than a young, bigger player. So, and that's kind of where we want to be.
Okay. Yeah, the 4-4-2 model. In theory, that sounds pretty good to me. If you go about it the right way. I mean, I think that makes sense. Retain 4. Yeah. I like that. We've discussed so many times about how these teams that have been, making deep runs or, getting to Final Fours, cutting down the nets the last several years, the retention there has been just a key cog in that. And it's kind of the first step. And I'm so happy that they prioritize that. And I'm pumped about it. Yeah, do that every year, especially if it's the right 4. But, like if your 4 returners are Carter and DJ and Billy and Trevin, man, that's awesome. That's a heck of a found, like A+ stuff. Assuming they wind up getting Carter back, and we'll talk about him in a minute too. But yeah, I love that. I think that sounds great. The 4 freshman thing, honestly, I'm fine with that too. If it's your typical Calipari freshman class, and in ways this one is, in others it's not. Because if you're doing this 4-4-2 thing, you're going about it of, okay, I need 4 freshmen who are ready to really contribute to the cause right away. You know what I'm saying? So Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, yes, sir. Love that. Well, sell me on at least one of Celia and Rattel, but maybe not both. Not with this model. If it was, for example, Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, pick one of the other, Isaiah Sealy, and then, like a Chris Sinak, who they were in on, or Mo Silla, or just another highly coveted guy. Like if 3 of those 4 are your man, those are Cal freshmen right there. Okay, hell yeah, I'll bite. I'm cool with the premise there. I think they're maybe one away, just hypothetically. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see what these guys look like when the bullets start flying and they're out there in game day. I'm intrigued by the potential of Sealy though. I really am. But you want a little bit more of a sure thing if you're going to allocate that much to your freshmen there. We talked about Sealy and Rattel a lot. Promising players, talented players, but having to rely on both of them to be day one ready contributors from the jump. It's risky. Doesn't mean it won't work, but it's risky. And do you really have to take risks right now? Are you in that position? I'm not sure that you are. 2 transfers. I mean, I think it's a little light, but it's splitting hairs, I think it's just where the game is headed with the portal situation. And maybe that's getting ready to turn. Maybe Cal's out ahead of this because of the regulations, the NIL and the revenue sharing and all that. Maybe it's getting ready to shift back a little bit or balance out, regression to the mean. So maybe this makes sense. But Cal kind of says as much, like in that clip there, older, tougher, more physical guys kind of reign supreme, which is why he wants his bigs out of the portal. That's 100% logical for sure. But admitting that about the old heads, and then 5 seconds earlier, just saying that you're committing nearly half your roster to younger, less experienced, less tough, less physical players. It just seems kind of interesting to me. But whatever. I get it. It makes sense. It's a good model. If it was me, I might do more of the 3-4-3, like 3 freshmen, 3 transfers, retain 4. But it's splitting hairs. Like whatever. The model makes sense. So I'm cool with it. But then you have to wonder, okay, well, how am I supposed to feel after listening to both of these things? Because if you listen to the first clip, well, it sounds like, okay, he seems like he's still pretty open to, making another addition there, whether it's, a big time addition or trying to get a returner back or, a role player or whatever, it seems like he's pretty open to that. Well, then if you listen to this last one here, the 4-4-2 stuff and you do the math, you're like, oh, shoot, I guess once they get Carter back, they're probably done. So time will tell, exactly what that is. But let me just throw this at you real quick and let's see how you feel. And I'm going to go back to exactly what I said last night, which is, if regardless, they're going to be okay. I don't want them to have questions. I don't want the what ifs. I don't want to have to do mental gymnastics. I just want there to be no doubt. And that's my personal expectation, but whatever. But if I told you the night of the Texas Tech loss in the Sweet 16, where it's like, dang, man, came up short. What could we have done different? Man, what could have changed? We're reflecting on the year. We're thinking about the future, and you're fired up, and you're like, man, let's go out here and let's put together a freaking contender, and let's run this thing back next year and see if we can make it further. On that night, if I told you that DJ Wagner would return, but Boogie Fland would actually hit the portal and go play elsewhere, that Big Z would leave and go join his brother at Illinois instead of his brother coming to Arkansas to join him, that Jaden Quaintance would hit the portal, but he'd commit to Kentucky within 48 hours, that Arkansas would not add a single made college three-pointer to its roster after the season they just had, even with Arkansas native Lamar Wilkerson dreaming of coming to Fayetteville, that they would have less proven reliable depth than last year, given their circumstances, and that they would return the guys that we frankly expected them to return all along. That they'd be counting on Isaiah Sealy and Kareem Rattel to play meaningful minutes in the rotation in year one, and that they would only add during portal season a pair of big men because you had no choice, because you didn't have any, and that there's no plan at the four behind Trevin Brazil. If I told you all those things on that night, what would your reaction have been? Be honest with me. I think most of you would have called me insane, or you would have called Cal insane. But I'm not, and neither is John Calipari, which is why I remain bullish that they are going to get Carter Knox back, and they're going to make an addition to the fold before wrapping this bad boy up. You feel me? And Cal said also, during his address there, that they're waiting on a couple of guys. What does that mean? It could mean a number of things. It could mean Carter and Boogie. It could mean let's see what those guys do. Let's see what Carter does, and we've got some other guys on the hook just in case. If this guy comes, if Carter comes back, we're gonna add this guy to complement him. If he doesn't, we're gonna add this guy instead, and then figure this out. Could mean a million different things. So we'll see. But let's talk about those guys real quick and kind of see if we can get a feel for what the heck is going on. And then we'll wrap it up for the day. A lot going on. The Boogie Fland saga took a turn. No surprise. Heated up, whatever you want to call it, on Wednesday. What did we say yesterday about Boogie? Most of the show was about him. Seemed pretty unlikely that a return to Arkansas is in the cards. But that it just doesn't feel right. Doesn't set right. Him going to a different college. Guys like Boogie don't leave Cal unless they're going to the league. And I asked on Inside Arkansas Live for people to give me examples of a Kentucky freshman, for example, who had the type of success, the injury aside, that Boogie did as a freshman and then dipped on him, went and played another college. Nobody could come up with one. There were some guys who had transferred on him, but guys who had been there for 2 or 3 years and then left, or guys who were highly recruited freshmen who didn't do anything their freshman year and left for better opportunities or whatever. But nobody who was a highly coveted freshman that performed and then went and played somewhere else. So, and we felt like, because it just kind of changed things. The portal versus pro, it just changed things. Felt like it just kind of cranks up the heat to need to respond accordingly there. Whether that's trying to get Boogie back or somebody else who can do some of the things he can do that might fit a little bit better. Well, there's been all kinds of reporting out there. And so yesterday, his agent, Mike Miller, played at Florida, by the way, said he's looking for another school. That was it. He's out of the draft, in the portal, looking for a new school. Well, that's why everybody's like, oh, okay. Well, if his agent's saying that, he probably ain't going back to Arkansas. Well, then Paul Biancardi at ESPN on Wednesday morning lists Arkansas as an option. Matter of fact, I've got it. Let me pull it up. It'll be here on the side. Boogie Fland is back in college basketball. Arkansas is certainly an option, but not a lock. When healthy, he was very successful at Arkansas. Many schools are calling. He's expected to be one of the guards in the country. He will be one of the guards in the country. That I can confirm. But there you have it from Biancardi. So you got his agent saying one thing, right? And then you've got Biancardi saying, no, like, hey, Arkansas is an option here. And then, you've got Travis Branham over at 24/7 who says, yeah, it is not feeling with Arkansas, but, Florida or Kansas or North Carolina State, right? And then I've obviously done my digging around, and I've been told that Arkansas would certainly welcome Boogie back. They weren't expecting it to be a thing, but now he's coming back to college basketball. They would absolutely take him back. Duh. But how hard will they push? How much will they pay? Can they pay? That I don't know. And I think about it from two standpoints. One, like Cal's pride, because we just talked about how this really don't happen to him often. It kind of tells me that he'll make a move here. He has a family to help after all. And he was asked about Boogie at the Razorback Club thing, and he gave about an 8-second response, basically saying, "Hey, like I told you guys, I support him. Whatever he needs, here for him. Love coaching him. We'll see how it plays out." I mean, he wasn't going to say too much more than that. But then on the flip side, some of Cal's other words tell me that maybe this just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, would adding Boogie hurt DJ Wagner's feelings or Darius Acup's feelings, as we're so worried about that? Maybe. Although I think those two guys are adults and competitors, and they want to win, and they're not going to duck some competition. And all you'd have to do is point to your track record of having loaded backcourts in the past. I mean, it's not crazy talk. But does Boogie have a better opportunity fit-wise at, say, Florida, where there's a starting spot and, a huge role and, playing for the defending champs right there in front of him? Yeah, he does. Kansas, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, Darren Peterson's there. They've gone out. It's a brand new team. I'm not sure how enticing that would be. NC State and Will Wade, kind of the same situation. Florida's the one, if I'm being honest, just from a sheer fit standpoint, Florida and Arkansas make the most sense to me. Florida, just by available role and everything that we just mentioned there. Arkansas from the standpoint of familiarity and continuity with the coaching staff, understanding of the system, chemistry with a number of your teammates there. Would it be complicated logistics-wise with the other guys in the backcourt? Yeah, it would, but all those other things matter too. There's a level of trust there and comfortability there at Arkansas where he could just kind of pick up right where he left off. So it's not crazy. So I'm still rolling with the. I think this is unlikely, but it's not impossible, and it felt impossible to me yesterday. The door isn't slammed shut and locked, but it's cracked with opportunity, and we'll see if Arkansas is able to seize that, or if they think it's the right thing to do. They might have a completely different plan, and when they execute it, we'll go, "Oh, this makes a lot more sense. This works. Cool. Good luck with the Gators, man," or whatever. But I don't think it's going to drag out too long. With the way it all went down, with the way he left, I think he's going to be motivated to make a decision quick, get settled in. I imagine this is going to be resolved by Memorial Day at the latest with Boogie. Speaking of doors being open or closed, a dude Thiero spoke to reporters there at the Combine, and we knew that was coming. Interesting comments. Let me pull them up real quick. So we got them. There we are. You see this from Isaac Trotter over at 24/7 Sports. He says, Arkansas wing Adu Thiero was frank about his stay or go decision at the NBA draft combine. He said, the door is not completely shut, but we should know more this week. For me, the door is kind of closed, but my circle around, they want to hear more great things to finally shut that door. That is a word salad, but it basically sums up, I think, what's been our line of thinking with the dude. He's kind of over it with the college thing, ready to start his pro career. He had his breakout season. For a lot of reasons, it makes sense for him to make the leap now. What could he do next year to up his stock from where it currently is substantially? And does that outweigh the risk of, a guy who's been somewhat injury prone getting injured again? So he seems very much committed to the draft process. We knew that. Arkansas knew that. And he has it his way. That's exactly what he's going to do. Now, his people, his family, his agents, wisely, they're looking for some guarantees before they're comfortable feeling the same. We'll know more this week. What does that mean? Well, he has his meetings with different teams the next couple of days. That's part of the combine process. His agents are going to be wheeling and dealing as well, talking to these different franchises, front offices, seeing what they can come up with. Our team's going to be turned off at all by the medicals because that knee's still not 100%. Cal even kind of said as much today when he was asked about him, but Cal also talked about Adu like he talks about guys who are going pro, like he talks about his guys who are already there. Said the bodies that you see in the playoffs right now look like Adu's does right now, and that he's ready for this. So, I still see it as, 95+% that Adu's going to be in the league next year. But if he doesn't hear, or if his people don't hear what they need to hear over the course of the next few days, or some of those red flags arise, but like, hey, what's going on with that knee? You've also had the back and stuff in the past. Then we'll probably see that reflected in some of the things that come out and some of the updated mocks, and then we'll reevaluate from there. But I don't think we're to the point where we need to do that yet. Carter Knox, he's just a man. Like we keep speaking about Carter as if it's a foregone conclusion. That's risky to do, but it does kind of feel that way. Scrimmaged on Wednesday. We did not go live for that because we had Inside Arkansas Live and had a couple of radio things as well. And honestly, it's such a frustrating watch because they spend more time with the cameras on the guys who are talking and the dudes that they're interviewing. But you can hear their voice. I don't need to see their face instead of showing the game. It's like we missed multiple plays out there that he was involved in, it's just frustrating. The combine coverage always drives me nuts, but whatever. Carter's team was kind of a mess. They didn't have a point guard. He had his moments, but he certainly didn't explode. He had a nice sequence to start the fourth quarter. He had a transition dunk, and then he stuck a corner three, looked really good. Had some struggle moments as well, a couple turnovers, a little loose with the ball. Not going incredibly hard for some offensive rebound opportunities out there. Stuck in mud a little bit because, again, they didn't really have a facilitator out there. He just didn't look super comfortable with that particular group, and I do think it was the roster build around him. Folks, barring a stunner, he's coming back to school next year. Carter is. In fact, Jonathan Wasserman, one of the best draft guys out there, said as much. He was doing a little pro day workout late in the evening on Wednesday, and he was saying, hey, this is a great experience for Carter, working out with a bunch of first and second round picks, and you can learn so much from this and gain so much of this and improve so much from this, even if you know that you're going to withdraw. He said that. Makes you feel a little bit better, right? Now, he did play with Jameer Watkins, was teamed up with him, who he looked good in his own right, and I am now very confident those two could coexist and play together. So we were talking about yesterday, it's like, man, like these guys they measured out almost the same. It's very similar athletically. They shot it similarly. Are these guys clones of each other? They have a lot of similarities. They do. But it's different enough to where I really think it could work. Knox has more upside. He's younger. I think he's more of a true wing. Watkins looked bigger, even though he's not. He might have a little bit more rear end to him, if I'm being honest with you. He's a better rebounder, better defender. I think he's a little bit more physical in the post. Watkins he's more suited and capable of playing the four regularly In fact, he played the 4 quite a bit in the scrimmage. He was getting involved in some pick and roll stuff, was mixing it up down there, showed some rim protection. Like he could do it, and he would be just fine. And it would work on the floor between those two. In fact, I think it would be electric. But would it hurt somebody's feelings? Probably. Because Jameer Watkins, he would be a new, shiny, expensive, very good toy that would command a lot of minutes. So at the end of the day, I believe Carter Knox is going to be back. And I believe Arkansas is going to wind up making one more addition of note beyond that. I don't see either as particularly likely at the moment, but I just get the hunch that it's more likely that they go after and wind up getting a guy like Boogie back than it is a guy like Watkins. And remember what I just said. I don't think either are particularly likely, but I think Boogie might be more likely than a guy like Watkins. I think it's more likely that they wind up with a surprise international edition or an off the radar portal guy than adding Jameer Watkins to Carter Knox. Still, even though I'm telling you, it could work. It absolutely could work, and it wouldn't be that weird in terms of those guys playing together. But just given the messaging and the whole thing about everybody's feelings and just, their patience and the perfect fit and everything like that, I just get the sense that they might wind up going in a different direction here. We'll see what it looks like. Jameer, even though he's a fringe draft pick, he might stay in anyway. Because he's going to be, by the time they do this again next year, he's going to be 25 years old. So, yeah, he can make a lot of money to go back to college. And maybe that's the route that he should take. But he also does have to consider that clock is ticking, man. So we'll see what he winds up doing. I pray that I'm wrong about that, because it would be awesome. I mean, if you were able to run out a lineup with whatever, Acuff and DJ and Carter and Jameer and Malik Ewan, or, whatever. If you want to go super, super big and experienced, you want to go with DJ, Carter, Jameer, TB, and Malik Ewan. I mean, the possibilities would be endless there. It'd be ridiculous. Just, I don't know. I'm not getting the vibe that that's going to happen, but we'll keep an eye on it. At any rate, that's what we got for you today. I'm sure tomorrow will be eventful as well. We're kind of on Carter Knox watch here. Will he scrimmage tomorrow? I think that he will, but at what point does he make a decision and make an announcement? I really hope that he doesn't drag this out to the deadline on the 28th. I don't think there's any need to. Getting some clarity there, some finality, allows Arkansas to be more proactive in wrapping this thing up and getting their guys on campus over Memorial Day weekend. And hey, let's get to work, right? So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. The JJ Andrews commitment announcement is coming Thursday afternoon around 4:00. Coin flip it. Just like yesterday, where things are starting to blow towards Missouri, hearing more and more rumblings for Arkansas throughout the day on Wednesday. Sounds to me like this thing could go either way. And hey, if they don't get him, it's not the end of the world. It's irritating if Missouri gets the best player in the state, 2 out of 3 years there. But if you do get him, I think it's a really good piece. He's got a ton of upside. It just means a little bit more to guys within the state. He's a legacy guy. I think it would make sense. He's super talented, strong, physical, but he's got some finesse to his game. He can shoot it. So we'll see. We'll be on the lookout for that. Hey, if he pops for Arkansas, we're probably going to go live and talk about it as well. So appreciate everybody. Hey, we cracked that 10,000 subscriber mark. So thank all of you who have hit that subscribe button and for all the support and love across the way. That's a big milestone for us. We're super excited about it. It ain't been easy. It hasn't been smooth. We've had our bumps in the road just like everybody else out there, but we persevered, and we're super, super excited about, where we're at and where this thing's headed. We got a lot of big plans moving forward, and we have you to thank for that. So really do appreciate you. Tap in on the podcast as well. You can find us Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. We put out the audio versions to the video versions every single day, and we'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. to talk a little bit more Arkansas basketball. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with the Pod Palace. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you in the AM.